Hello, this is Lady B, and this week I'm talking about how to prepare for a feast. For a number of years, until the next generation got old enough to help, I and my sister were the only two in my family who cooked. And she was usually not available for various reasons. So I found myself preparing come Thanksgiving, Christmas, and other get-togethers, food for 20 people on a regular basis. And over a couple of years, I started developing a system and picking up a couple of tricks and things that made it easier to do this. It is actually possible with a little help from some people who can do things like mix or peel or chop onions and other things. A couple of sous chefs help, but when necessary, I did do it on my own. So it is possible. And this is how I did it. So the very first thing you need to do when you are going to do a feast, whether it's a picnic, 4th of July barbecue, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it is you write out your menu. Now, as you're choosing your menu items, try to mix it up. Things that can be prepared ahead of time, and then with the things that you need to prepare that day. If you have a kitchen full of people who can cook, you can do it in one day. But if it's just you or 2 or 3 people, spread it out. So, for example, I've written out my menu, and I'm actually going to have that scrolling here so you can see it. So one of the keys I found to feeding 20 people is you don't need to make 20 people's worth of most of the foods, because when there's a lot of different foods, most people will choose a little bit of several things or just one and not another. So as long as you can make multiple, say, vegetable dishes for 10, then you have, as long as you have at least 2, you have enough. With stuffings and dressings, in my family, it's stuffing. No, in my family, we call it stuffing, but it's really dressing. And we love it. And it's really good leftover. So we like to make a lot of it. So I'll make 2 different kinds, but the most favorite type, we actually make enough for 20. And then this next favorite, we make enough for 10. And then there's extras. But if you're not planning for extras, 10 and 10 would be enough. Rolls. Everybody wants your bread rolls. Did you know that you can make your rolls a good week ahead of time and freeze them and then just reheat them the day of, and they will taste just as good almost? Well, just as good as anything you buy from the store, if not better. Let's be honest there. Once you have your menu figured out and you know what's going in it, the next step is to write down both the steps each of those recipes takes, along with which ones can be done ahead of time, and an ingredients list. You pull out your cookbooks and you write down the ingredients and the steps on 2 separate pieces of paper. You don't have to write out the whole recipe when you're writing the steps, just the basics. Now, I'm going to make a recommendation for a cookbook. This being Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving in the U.S. means pie. Your dessert on Thanksgiving traditionally is a pie. Pumpkin pie, apple pie, custard pies, whatever it is that is for your region is the tradition, but it's always pie. And so over the years, as I was making pies, I kept looking for better and better recipes. Now, yes, you can buy them. And there's some really great companies out there that make some amazing pies. And if you don't care about getting that really fresh flavor. You can buy them frozen and either defrost them or cook them. But we had a lot of allergies in the family, so they had to be made. So I found this book. And if you are someone who makes pies, get this book. I don't use it straight from here. I have to make substitutions because of the allergies. But this book breaks down all the details, how it works, why it works, all the different kinds of crusts, the different kinds of pies, adjustments made to each base recipe for your variations. I recommend this book 100%. If you're going to be making homemade pies, buy this. It is wonderful. But for all my other recipes, I have this. And I recommend this too. If you're going to be doing this multiple times, buy yourself a folder. Whether you adjust your recipes or you reuse the recipes, collect your recipes in the folder. Now this folder is for all the different holidays, and I have put in these tabs to mark the different types of holidays. Along with, in the very back, I have a thing for canning and preserving, because that is something I do seasonally. Keep them together, because if you're going to be doing this over and over again like I did, you don't want to be digging them out again over and over again from all your different cookbooks or from the websites, or you go, how did I do that? Where did I find that recipe? Always, if you use the recipe, collect it, put it in the folder, then you have it for next time. So we've gone through the cookbooks and we write down the steps and the ingredients. Now, what this does is it lets you do two things. Now, obviously, you can compile your ingredients from all your different ones into a shopping list, which I have here and I will be showing here. And you basically go through all your ingredients, combine them. When you have multiple ingredients that call for multiple things like onions, we use a lot of onions. So I have written down on my shopping list 10 to 12 pounds of onions. I'm going to need at least 10, just because that's how much we use. And so that's what your ingredients list is. It helps you make a shopping list. And then the other thing is your steps list combined with your shopping list then lets you write out your calendar. Now, this is the secret right here of being able to get it done. And that is making a plan at least a week in advance. When are you going to go shopping? This year, I have to go shopping on Wednesday. I would have preferred to do Thursday, but I won't be able to. So it has to be the Wednesday before. So I will do the shopping with all these ingredients, my shopping list, on the Wednesday before. And then I've broken it down, like on the Thursday before, we make the cranberry relish and we make the rolls. The rolls can be frozen. Cranberry relish is a recipe that actually comes from Ocean Spray. It's so easy. It's just 2 oranges that you've cut up. You cut the very ends off. You slice it up, remove any seeds, so all you have is the pulp on the inside and the rind. And you run it through a food processor along with a pound of cranberries. And then you sweeten it with sugar till you like it. And then you put it in the fridge and you let it sit for about a week for all those flavors to mingle and develop. And you have this delicious cranberry relish that you can use with whatever it is you do for your Thanksgiving feast. And that is a week before, along with the rolls, which, as I said, can be frozen. And then, beginning on the Monday before, I have my first step that week, which is to make the pie crusts, because the pie crust can be made ahead of time and frozen. And then Tuesday, I have my custard pies and starting my brisket. Now, the custard pies, if you do them 2 days ahead of this, your crust does not stay crisp. So be aware of that. But we have so much to do that I have it marked 2 days ahead anyway. No one's ever complained. If you care about that, do it on the Wednesday instead. Now, I have brisket written on here because in my family, instead of a turkey or a ham, we do beef brisket for Thanksgiving. And it's something that we love because everyone loves the flavor, but best of all, it's made ahead of time. And I will be cooking that brisket in a countertop cooker that we've bought just for these large gatherings overnight. So that evening, the evening of Tuesday, I will be trimming my brisket, slicing up a huge amount of onions, and then putting it and the onions in the cooker with some broth and some other flavorings, cooking it overnight until a fork goes in easy. And the reason I do that overnight on Tuesday is because on Wednesday morning, I then remove that brisket and I wrap it really tight in saran wrap and I put it in the refrigerator. And I of course, keep the onions because that's a side dish that will be reheated. And I keep the broth. And that night, after it's had at least 8 hours in the refrigerator, the meat will firm up again, and that will let me slice it. So I can slice it the night before on Wednesday night. And then on Thursday, with the day we actually have it, it goes back in the cooker already sliced with the onions on the side and enough of the broth to reheat it, put it back on 1 hour, 300, reheats it, and it's so good. And it's so much easier spreading it out over 3 days. Now, obviously, the most things happen the day before and the day of, which is why this gets a much larger section on my calendar than these. Day before, sweet potato dishes are actually better reheated than the day they're made. Mostly probably because of all the sugars that go into them. They're not a low sugar item, but it's something that my diabetic brother-in-law loves. So he's in charge of that, and he will make it how he likes it. We'll see how that goes. The cream pies. Cream pies can be made the day before, as long as you don't actually put them strictly into the crust. You could do it, you'd have soggy crusts worse than you would with the custard pies. The secret to keeping your crust from getting soggy when you do it the day before is that you actually cool the cream mix. And in this case, it actually is a type of custard because it has eggs in it, but it's a cream pie. You cool it to a room temperature, or if it's a no-cook pie, you don't have to cool it, but you have it at that room temperature. You line your pie crust with saran wrap, plastic wrap, whatever you call it. Put your pie filling in, put another one over plastic wrap over the top. Keep it cold. Right before serving, you're going to slip that into the pie crust minus the the plastic wrap. And there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest is just flip things over. But however it works for you, that lets you pre-make your cream pie and still serve it as good as it was the day you made it. So you can make it the day before. My gluten-free dressing. We have people in the family who cannot have gluten. So we make a dressing that is gluten-free. It is so good. I use a variation of a recipe I found from the Natural Grocer website. I do not use it straight up. I make my own. But it is so good. It's roasted vegetables and, just butternut squash and brown rice and mushrooms. And it is so good. And that is actually another thing that can be made the day before and then just reheated the day of. It's actually even better reheated. Some things are. I think that was everything. Oh, green bean casserole. If you make a green bean casserole, you can, again, prep it the day before. Just don't, if you do those crispy onions on top, don't put them on top until it goes in the oven. But you can make it the day before, cover it, saran wrap, tinfoil, put it in your fridge, and then pull it out the day of, take off any saran wrap, just leave the tin foil, put your Crispies on, pop it in the oven, and you're good. And then the day of, I have 2 columns here. I have the cooking the day of, and I have reheating, because I've done all this preparation. These reheating things, they just have to go in the oven or the countertop cooker or a crock pot, whatever you need to get it done. And so for cooking at this point, because we've done all the hard work, the only thing that has to be done is the regular dressing. It's a sausage and mushroom dressing is what my family uses. Best fresh. The mashed potatoes, those can be made the day before, but my family and then you just reheat them in a crock pot or a double broiler. There's a couple of different ways to reheat them, and you can do it, but my family prefers them fresh. And they're so easy to make, we just make it fresh. Then the, what does that say? Gravy. Yes, I make gravy with my broths that have come off of my meat that I have cooked. And that is just easy to make. Just thicken it, flavor it a little bit, put it in a gravy boat, we're good to go. And then, of course, my family on Thanksgiving likes corn on the cob. And that we just cook in either an Instant Pot or a crock pot, however we need. And now you can see a little diagram I have down here. And what this is my oven. This shows how much can fit in my oven and what will fit in there. So I have planned, it's my oven, countertop cooker, crock pot. We have planned already how those are going to be heated at that last minute. And this is how you do it. You, 1 or 2 other people to help, you can cook for 20. It can be done. Now, we do beef brisket. I know some of you like turkey. So if you like turkey, I have a couple of tips for you on that too. The first one is do a dry brine. It takes 3 to 4 days in your refrigerator ahead of time. So again, that would be prepared ahead. You'd plan for that ahead. So either the Sunday or Monday before, if it's on a Thursday for Thanksgiving, you're going to want to get that, your dry brine, and you can find some really great recipes online for that. It's really not hard. Brine your turkey. So amazing. Or if you don't want to do your own brine, there are a few really excellent brands out there that do a really great brine. With turkey, you get what you pay for. If you're worried about hormones and all that other stuff, buy a hormone-free organic turkey, brine it yourself. If you don't care about that, pay for quality. Just do. And the second tip for your turkey is spatchcock it. I'll put a link to a video of how to do that. It doesn't give you that picturesque turkey from Norman Rockwell, but the turkey turns out so much better when you spatchcock it. It is just amazing. It does take up a lot of space in your oven though. For example, on my little chart here, if I was spatchcocking a turkey, that would take up an entire rack. I would not have as much room in this, and I'd be breaking out another countertop cooker to reheat some of these items. So you plan that ahead of time. So the only other tip I can give you is plan breaks, and do not let yourself get dehydrated. It is so easy to forget to drink enough water while you're working hard in the kitchen. Keep yourself hydrated, plan breaks. Even when you have all this stuff on one day, like on this one, plan out. How long does it take to do these items? What time are you going to start? When are you going to take that hour lunch break and rest? Because you will wear yourself out if you do not plan those breaks. So do that. Do not forget. So that's how it's done. Meal planning for a feast. I hope this is helpful to you. And I would ask, please stay safe this Thanksgiving. Whether you're traveling or cooking, be careful, be cautious, be safe. It would be really nice to have a Thanksgiving with no fatalities for once. And I'm talking to all of you who deep fry your turkeys. Be really, really careful. I love all of you, whether new or old. If this was helpful to you, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Until then, whether planning for a feast or a picnic or whatever your party may be, whatever it is, don't be afraid to suit yourself and make whatever you are making exclusively